So I'm just going to give you a rundown on how I went from a 16 gauge piercing, which is this, so a standard size piercing in my dots, to a 6 gauge piercing, which looks like this. Now my method is not going to work for everyone, but this is from trial and error from me just using all sorts of methods. Sorry, my cat's trying to get on the chair. From using all sorts of different methods. I've tried a little bit of everything. There's not a ton of advice on the internet, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because I've given people advice online, and I thought this would just be easier and more streamlined, because I can actually show you the products that I use, explain to you why I use them, and it's not going to be, you know, a huge giant wall of text. Okay, so first things first, you want to stretch a cartilage piercing. Cool. You could start at any size. If you have a regular standard size piercing, cool. You can start from there. That's what I started from. It's not a big deal. But be aware that stretching a cartilage piercing is not like stretching your regular ear piercings. This is cartilage. It's hard. It doesn't really have a lot of give to it. It takes more time. It can be really sore and finicky, and you may have to downsize here and there because it'll just randomly flare up and not like you for some reason. But I'm going to show you what I do and the easiest way to do it. So first and foremost, you want to start with the right size plug. I prefer glass. I love stretching with glass. I highly recommend it for every type of piercing that you have. Stretch with glass. Why? Because it doesn't harbor bacteria as easily. It's non-porous. It's also very slippery, like the ends of it. And especially like if you get into like bigger glass plugs, you can really see how smooth that surface is. And because that surface is so smooth, it's very easy to stretch up your piercings. Even with metal, if you look at it like with a microscope, you can actually see some of the porousness of it. And metal isn't terrible to stretch with, you can, but a lot of people have allergies and things like that because metal is definitely not created equal, and most of it is unregulated, so it's just like pot metal. It's like junk, and it has a lot of nickel in it, so your piercings can get irritated. For me also, these sorts of like jewelry, like I guess like horseshoes and things like that, have really sharp edges. So this part right here, even though they've kind of dulled it down a little on the edges, it's still pretty sharp, and when you're trying to put it into something like a doth piercing, which is at a weird kind of corner angle in your ear, it's really hard to get it right. And also when you're pushing, you're just like, is that right? Am I pushing it in there into the actual hole, or am I just pushing it into my ear? And then only to discover like 5 minutes later, my ear's all bloody. I've got blood running down the side because I did not push it into the actual hole. I was pushing it into my ear and I could not tell. So glass, just do glass. You won't bleed. It'll be so much easier and your ear will be less irritated. I noticed too that the glass doesn't really move around, which also really helps it heal initially, like faster. And if you want to kind of jump through the stretching and go a little bit quicker, that's why I recommend it, because glass is just going to sit in one spot. It's not really going to jostle around. It's not going to move around like these might and kind of keep twisting and turning and irritating the piercing. I do switch to these after about a couple weeks to a month. And that's because I like to stretch faster. Even though it took me 3 years to get to this size, the last couple sizes, I was really excited. So I switched to these because you can yank on them and pull them, and it actually encourages the piercing to kind of get larger and stretch it out a little bit. You don't want to do that though when you just stretched it. When you first stretch it, if you were to switch to these, even if I switched to these after like a month, it's going to be very snug. You'll notice that it doesn't really move a whole lot, but when it does, it's very uncomfortable. It's like, like I don't like it. It's like sore. That's why I recommend the glass. I recommend switching to these if you want to size up really fast, but do it afterwards so that you don't make your ear bloody. Really, I'm serious. You probably think it's funny and like it's not true, but try it. Well, actually, don't try it. Just don't do what I did. I'm trying to give you good advice here. Anyway, so you know what kind of materials to use. Glass, right? Okay, and if you want to switch to metal, do that. You don't have to. You can just go glass all the way. Glass is wonderful. The next thing is also making sure that you're using the proper size. So you want to buy a caliper. I got this one, I think at Lowe's. You can get them anywhere, Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, maybe even Walmart. So wherever there's a store that has like anything where there's measuring that needs to happen, you're gonna find these. I don't know what brand this is. I guess it's Ultra Tech, but you don't have to get this one. I get this because I need to measure my glass plugs. One of the big problems with buying glass is that it's handmade, so it can vary wildly in sizes, and even though you're buying a certain size, sometimes you'll go and pull a plug out of a bag and it's like a millimeter too big or half a millimeter too big. And if you were to go and stretch with that and not realize it and just kind of force it in because you're like, oh, it's been like a couple months, I should totally be able to size up, and then you go and put it in, you can also cause bleeding. You can also get a blowout, and it's very, very uncomfortable, and you're not gonna like it, I promise. Your ear might even swell up. I've had that happen before, which is why I started using a caliper. So anyway, make sure you have the right size and stretch at 0.5 millimeter increments. Don't stretch at a full millimeter. It's cartilage. Please just don't. It hurts, and it's not gonna heal right, and a lot of things can happen. Now, maybe you're lucky and you can do jumps that big. That is totally possible. But I think for the majority of people, from what I've read and heard from other people, it's just not the norm. You're probably gonna have to go with 0.5 millimeter increments. And I know you're probably like, but I wanna be the size right now. Well, if you wanna be the size right now in whatever piercing you have, go get it punched. Go get it punched. Stretching your cartilage piercings is really for people who don't mind the experience and who don't mind it taking a long time and who kind of wanna commit to it and invest in it. At least that's how it is for me. Okay, so let's get to the actual stretching part and what to use. Jojoba oil. I highly recommend this for any kind of stretching that you're doing, whether it's your ears, your cartilage, whatever. People stretch their genital piercings, all kinds of things. This, because it's the closest to the oil that our skin produces, which is called sebum. I love it. It doesn't give me acne. I can even put it on my face when my face is dry. I put it in my hair. This brand is Pierce Nation. I got it from Spencer's. I've tried many other brands, but this is the one that I've stuck with because I noticed it stays the most like moist the longest. And that's actually really important with piercings because you don't want them to become unlubricated. With cartilage piercings, it's not as important, but with like your ears and stuff, you want them to be lubricated because they'll get dry and chapped and gross. And so anyway, use this stuff. It's great. It'll also make your ears smell less, which is awesome. So if you're having trouble with that, make sure your ears are lubed. If they're not lubed, they're probably going to smell gross, or you're not showering enough, or you're not washing your ears enough. Anyway, the other one I like to use is this. This is actually my preferred stuff for stretching cartilage piercings. This is a balm. This one's actually, well, this one says hand salve, excuse me. This is jojoba oil hand salve. There are tons of stretching balms all over the internet. I think you can probably get them at some stores, or even at, and by stores I mean like Spencer's kinds of stores, or even a piercing place. A lot of people don't like using stretching balm because you can have an allergic reaction because they have a lot of weird ingredients sometimes. I got the plainest one I could find. This one's basically jojoba seed oil, avocado oil, beeswax, and I don't know what the first one is. Oh no, it's jojoba seed oil. It's just using the scientific name. Anyway, so yeah, this one's jojoba oil, avocado oil, and beeswax. That's it. It's perfect. It works great. It lubes it up so much better than just using straight jojoba oil. Honestly, if you want to skip the jojoba oil for your cartilage piercings, you can. I just like to use both. I'm weird. But the balm is the best. Because you can take a big giant gob of it, which is what I do. So this is how I would do it. Actually, I'll just take my glass out of my other doth piercing and show you. So basically, I take my glass plug. So here it is. Say I was gonna size up right now, and I would have already measured this and made sure it was the right size and made sure what size I was in my ear, because sometimes I forget. And then I take a big gob of this on the end like that, and then I insert it. Now, sometimes I also will take this jojoba oil and put a couple of drops, because this actually has a dropper, but the cat stole it, I don't know, and it fell over, so that's why it's empty. But anyway, the cat stole the dropper. But anyway, you can take the dropper and you can drop a couple drops in the top of your ear right here if you're doing your doth piercing or whatever piercing you're doing. With doth piercings, you can't see it or feel it super well because it's kind of inside your ear. So that's why I recommend using this stuff, because it's definitely more concentrated. It's going to go right where you need it to go, and it's thicker. And I noticed that for some reason it just slides in so much better, and there's less annoyance and pain, and I don't miss, which is a big problem for me when I was stretching my doth piercing. Is, as you can see, I kind of struggled to find it. So there it is. I found it, and then boom, it's in. So you can use whichever one you like, but I recommend the balm. That just worked better for me. I had less issues. Now, when you stretch, this is how you can tell that your piercing is ready. So for me, like I said, I would switch to these. I would pull on them regularly, and mine's not really ready to be pulled on because I got to this size, I don't know, I think a month ago. So you could see though that it's loose. You can see it kind of wiggles around. And like I said, when you first stretch it, it's going to be kind of stiff. It's not really going to move. And that's how you know you're definitely not ready. Once it starts getting to the movable spot, you're getting closer. However, you're going to notice sometimes when you move it, it'll sting a little, or it'll just feel kind of uncomfortable or sore. Not ready. Not ready. So just wait. And I don't want to give you like an exact timeline because that's not going to hold true for everyone. It could be 2 or 3 months. I'm going to go more towards 3 months. It could be 6 months. It depends on your ear. It depends on you. It depends on how much you're playing with it. All of that stuff. So just know that. And that this is an investment in yourself. And that's what I look at it as. I look at it as like, this is me spending time on myself. It's doing something I really enjoy. And I just like it. Like the overall result is really cool. Like I don't know a lot of people with stretched doth piercings. I've only seen like one person in person who also had them stretched. So it's just cool. And I enjoy that. And I enjoy stretching it and kind of like waiting for everything. And then, you know, finally getting to my goal. And I would like to go bigger. Maybe I will eventually. If I do, I'll probably post it. But for right now, I'm kind of out of room. I don't know if you can really see it. Maybe I'll post some pictures of it so you can see what it looks like. But it takes a lot of dedication. You have to decide that's what you really want. And I know everyone is going to watch this and be like, oh, well, you know, I did it in, you know, 6 months. Well, that's cool. I'm sure you did. And that's okay. If it takes you a shorter time, it takes you a shorter time. But I'm telling you all of this because I have already hurt my ears repeatedly, and I don't want you to have to go through the same thing and the same kind of pain. Like, it's going to be sore after you stretch. That's a given. I recommend using one of those like airline pillows and just putting your ear through it if you need to. Because the first couple days after a stretch, it can be very annoyed and just sore. You can take ibuprofen, obviously consult your doctor because I'm not a doctor, but that's usually what I take so that the swelling will go down and it'll just kind of relax, because it will swell a little bit sometimes, even if the stretch didn't hurt, which it doesn't. Usually I stretch and it's just like, because I wait. If you don't wait, it will hurt a lot, and it will probably get irritated and swollen to the point where you may need to take it out, and you don't want to do that because that will make it take even longer. So I just recommend stretching where the pain is really, really minimal. Like maybe there's a slight like twinge, that's okay. But if it's like really, really hurting, probably consider downsizing. And that's because, like I said, it's just going to take you longer to get to your goal if you're forcing it, because you can have all kinds of things happen. Cartilage piercings are very finicky. They get irritated easily. You can like lay on your side one night wrong, and then the next day wake up and your ear's just like really sore and not happy. And I've had that happen a bunch of times. And then I just downsize. And like a week later, I can go back up to the size. So don't be impatient. Like really, I mean it. It will turn out so much better if you just wait it out and just go with it and just go when your ear's ready, or whatever's ready. So anyway, I hope that helped. I hope that kind of explains everything. I tried to get it all in one video. I'm sorry this got really long, but I didn't want to leave anything out, and I wanted you to like receive my years and years of experience without having to do it yourself. because starting out with like no information just sucks. And like I said, you end up with a bloody ear sometimes and just sore and irritated, and you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know if this is going to work. Well, it does work. You just got to find the right method for you, and hopefully this method will also work for you. And then you won't even have to experiment.